Sometimes you just gotta wait. It's the hardest thing in the world, and it comes up every single press conference. Without fail. Free TV, Bellator, Pride Fight Championships, WEC, every UFC you can think of. What happens now? Who is our champion going to fight next? And you get the same answer. 99.9% of the time. There was one time that Dana actually answered it and made a fight in that moment. Brandon Moreno, Figueiredo, Dana said we're going to go do a rematch. All right. Every other time he says, let's see what happens. Now, let's see what happens is based on a number of things. But it's not just, let's go talk to those guys. Let's make sure they agree with it. When Dana gets interviewed right at those post-fight press conferences, there's also drug tests that take 30 days to get back. There's commission rulings. The commissioners are literally checking on the guys and they're checking their bones. And sometimes they find something that they're not good with the kind of the field test. So then they set up appointments where the guy's got to come in for an MRI or an X-ray before he can sign off on the paperwork. Like, it's wildly difficult to say, yeah, we're going to turn it around. We got a great date. Here it's going to be. Very difficult to do. But the funness of it doesn't go away. Right? Even if you can't get the absolute answer that, hey, that sounds like a good idea. That's definitely the direction we'll go in. Can answer a lot of questions. But coming out of Saturday, we're really stuck in this spot where you guys take your oars out of the water. Let me use Merab. Let me start with Merab, then I'm going to jump to Alex Pereira. But I went to Sean O'Malley. I said, hey, Sean, I'm going to make some pieces on this. I want to be able to name drop you. I want to be able to say I spoke to you, so give me something about this fight. And O'Malley's like, all right, first, put me over. Any opponent they want, I'll fight him, but when I beat him, I want my rematch with Merab. And he was very real. He said, Chael, if you're asking me what I think that the UFC is going to do in this moment, he said there's a guy named Mario Batista. And Mario Batista is signed for, I believe, Qatar. But he's going to fight Umar Nurmagomedov. And that fight's like 3 weeks away. And O'Malley was saying, don't do anything with Merab. Let him enjoy this 15 minutes. Let him soak it in. And let's give a good look to what happens, because if Batista gets over, and O'Malley shared with me, Batista's better than people think he is. And if he gets over, then he should be considered for the opportunity. Okay. Now, whether you like that booking and matchmaking or not, I think it's important more to the idea that we don't have to have an answer tonight. Peter Yan was the answer that a number of people threw out there. And a number of other people countered that and said Peter Yan is currently booked with the Chinese opponent. I don't remember that booking. As a matter of fact, I remember that fight in March of last year. But there could be another opponent. It doesn't make it untrue. It would require a level of research. But I have seen Peter Yan take on Sterling. And rematches aren't my favorite thing to look at. Because I know for the athletes that's in there risking everything, the rematch is the least thing that he wants to do. Now, if you take that same thing and you look at heavyweight, the idea of Pereira and Jon Jones is almost impossible to look away from. If we added the caveat by Jon Jones, I'm going to do the fight, but I'm coming to 205. You are putting that belt up. Jon would lose no esteem. There would be nobody that would say, oh, you're scared and you didn't want to fight Aspinall. Like, none of that would happen. That's Alex Pereira. He can fight him for no reason other than they both understand it's going to be legacy, and they can do it at roughly 235 pounds, which is what they both weigh, or they could come down, make it a title fight. All of a sudden, you're stealing back a main event at the White House, just for example. But the concept that O'Malley gave as it pertained to Batista, as it pertained to, hey, Merab, just wait a moment. The world and the landscape that you live in has the potential to look very different, which gives us, the community, the potential to give you a very different opinion. But just give us a moment. And the number one thing on Aspinall and Surreal, the number one hero that can come out of that story, Other people have beaten Surreal. It's a really hard thing to do. But it's not as though somebody's star rised. Surreal's won other fights, even fights for belts, and he's a big deal. But it's not as though his star is going to skyrocket. The one guy that can steal all the headlines, and it needs to be a victory by Surreal, which X's and O's is entirely possible. The winner of that is Jon Jones. If Surreal Gone gets over on Tom, closes the book of Tom versus Jon, creates for no great excitement for Jon to move into heavyweight, that's where things look different. I am confident in telling you Surreal and Jon don't fight again, just because of the way that first fight looked. But if I produced a photo, a poster for you guys right now, Alex Pereira versus Surreal Gone, I think that you're going to go crazy. I think that you're absolutely going to love that idea. So, Alex at heavyweight, and the idea initially of Alex can't go to heavyweight, they're just simply too big. You know, Alex, if you follow him on social media, starts at 244 before he starts his cut. Partway through camp, lean as can be, he gets down to 234. Now he starts pulling water out, and he starts doing days of fasting, and he looks at him, there's just nothing on the bone but skin and muscle by appearance, and he's still at 219. It's a very big guy. Surreal weighs in that 240 range. Never quite got into the 30s, never quite weighed into the 50s. He's right in that 240 range, which is exactly what Pereira weighs according to his own social media. I mean, see, everything starts to look different. And you start to have some very incredible parity. As soon as we get Pereira to heavyweight, I think a larger question is, what do you do at 205? Does he hold on to the belt? If you don't love these ideas of potentially Surreal, of potentially Jon Jones, of ultimately Aspinall, if you don't love those ideas, you are confronted with, what else should we do? What is a better idea? The wind is blowing strongly towards Yuri, who's amazing, but who's lost twice. It's Yuri, who's amazing, who had 2 completed rounds over the weekend. Not one single judge saw it his way. You have Oldberg, who's red hot, who's very handsome, who likely, if he walked in the room and smacked you in your face right now and you told the police you wouldn't even know who smacked you. Right? He's new. He's just new. He's just finally getting his feet wet in main event status. He's finally getting his name tied to these other guys. One more match would really be helpful. And while we're sitting here and we're debating what's next for Alex Pereira, we are down to 2. We understand it's either Oldberg, or we understand it's a rematch of a rematch with Prohaska. We've already moved Ankalaev, who's 1-1 and would qualify for a true trilogy. That's not even a talking point. So again, we're down to Oldberg and we're down to Prohaska. And then you got to ask yourself, which is the better fight? Which is best? What else are we going to do? I think you have your own answer. You're just looking at Pereira wrong. Move Pereira out of that equation, then ask yourself the same question. And you come to the conclusion, the match to make is Prohaska versus Oldberg. The request to grant is Alex at heavyweight. And if you want to make a match now and you're in a big hurry, Jon Jones is the one that's available there. But in 3 short weeks and to the point of O'Malley, take your time. See what happens. Is it still this great big boy named Tom Aspinall on top of the bill that's a little bigger for anybody, no matter how great that light heavyweight is? Or is it Surreal, who's got a 50% chance of finding a victory there too? I think the hottest thing in the sport right now is Alex Pereira. I think 1 week ago, most of the audience was over him. 1 week ago, when I was searching for topics to give you guys as to why Ankalaev and Pereira Part 2 mattered, I had a hard time. That's just the truth. I can assure you, when that fight was going on, there was no merchandise, no live gate, and no pay-per-view records. But coming out the back end, I have never been in a building more in awe. I have never been in a building doing all they can do, which is cheering and clapping, to show an appreciation for an athlete more than what they did for Alex Pereira, who not only got his belt back, who not only was the younger fighter beating the older fighter, who not only flipped the script when he only had 7 months of time, no fights in between, just 7 months of mentally preparing for what I'm going to do, he also took him down. No one amongst us predicted a ground and pound via takedown by Alex Pereira. And there's weird ways for what they will call a takedown in wrestling. I'm just telling you, from freestyle, collegiate, or Greco-Roman, one guy's down, one guy's on top. That's a takedown. Should Alex Pereira give a good look to going heavyweight? Yes. Should he be given the opportunity if that's what he insists upon? Absolutely. Does it have to be for the title? Does it have to be against Jones? No. No, there's something special about him. And if he wants to take a special attraction to a special weight, I have not just suggested anything for you as it pertains to Alex. I have not put out one suggestion. Talking about, I don't know who the opponent is. I don't even know what the weight class would be. I don't even know what it would be for. I know a title wouldn't be on it. Might not even be number one contenders match. I have not even suggested something we allow Alex to do that hasn't already been approved for Conor to do in the last week. And in the world of what have you done for me lately, Alex Pereira would be the one owed the request.